Welcome back to the Iowa Chill Show. It is November 25th. It's Turkey Week. I'm Nathan Creeps, joined by my co-host, Mr. Bryce Bortscheller. Before we get into this episode, we just recorded an awesome podcast the other night with Maya McDermott, the 37-point assassin from UNI. We talked about their game against Iowa State, the growth of women's college basketball, and their upcoming trip to the Virgin Islands. Really great conversation we had with her. So if you haven't yet, go to our YouTube channel, check that video out. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, Nate, great to be here with you on Thanksgiving week. We've got a huge week coming up for Iowa-Nebraska game, but I can't get over that interview. Maya McDermott is so freaking cool. I had so much fun. So definitely check that out. I'm looking forward to seeing pretty much the whole landscape of Iowa basketball right now. Iowa is hot.
Yeah, a lot of hot, especially in the sports world right now. We'll jump into that later in the podcast. Drake only lost by 2 last night. I didn't know they were playing Iowa State. So that Katie Dennybar girl had like 39 points or something like that. Maybe it's just a common theme we're seeing against Iowa State women's basketball team. But like I said, sports are for later here in the episode. Mr. Bortscheller, you're back from the cowboy land of Tennessee. How was the trip?
Nashville was awesome. We hit Broadway on Friday. We hit Broadway on Saturday. We went to a Vikings game on Sunday. And then we got to play one of the coolest courses I've ever been on, the Troubadour, like 45 minutes outside of Nashville. Have you ever played at a course with a halfway house?
A halfway house?
Yeah. It's like basically a mini convenience store located on hole 4, 5, 6, somewhere before the turn, and then another one usually on 13, 14, or 15. And basically, like, you just get pampered like no other. It's amazing.
So it's kind of like a mini clubhouse on the course.
It is. It's instead of at the turn going to the clubhouse, you just wait for those little stops, and it's so cool. So that was awesome. Great way to finish. We did end up having to fly back on Monday. Kind of a weird schedule last week, and that was iffy, but the trip was so worth it.
How many Viking fans were at the game?
I would say 75% of the stadium was Vikings fans.
Dude, that's unreal.
Yeah, it was so fun.
What a loyal fan base.
So the main gripe with the trip, honestly, is like the walk from – we were in the Gulch. If you're familiar with Nashville, it's just off the main strip of Broadway. And we walked to the game because it was like 75 and sunny. My main issue with Nissan Stadium down there in Tennessee is the setup to get to the stadium. There's like maybe 2 walkways. You got to go across a bridge, and getting into the stadium is horrible. They are building a new stadium, but it won't be done for a while, and for the time being, people just have to deal with it. But you can tell it's just not up to par for NFL standards anymore.
Yeah, like I said, I was back there in 2013 or something like that, and the only thing I remember is how crowded the bridge was going over the river to and from the stadium.
Yep. Yeah, super busy. But yeah, very, very good trip. Nashville's just like turning into one of my favorite places to go.
Did you catch any good artists? Local artists down there, any of the bars or restaurants that you ate at? That was, I said, that was my favorite part.
We actually didn't, and it was packed. So the first time I went was on a Monday, and we literally got to see like top-tier country artists just hopping into bars and being like, hey, can I play a couple songs? Which was like, you hear about that stuff going on at Nashville, but then actually seeing it was really cool. This time we went on the weekend, and it was way busier, but we didn't see anybody of any noteworthiness.
Yeah, classic good times there in Nashville. But you flew in and out of Des Moines.
We did. Yep.
I just want to bring that up because I love the Des Moines airport, especially when you can get a direct flight. So chill. Dude, it's not so overwhelming, unlike any other airports. But I do know they just got approved for some couple $1 million renovation. So I know they're
working on it now.
Awesome. Do you know what that entails?
I think they're going to double the size of the terminals. I don't think it'll change a lot of the layout and the efficiencies of the airport experience, but they're going to have more flights because like now they're doing direct flights to LA and some of the major cities. So it's like you got to add more terminals. But yeah, it's going to be nice. And dude, it's just so relaxing. Like Nashville, you fly in, you got to take a bus to get your bags and do all that stuff. And that's like the worst part of flying is all the logistics, but you don't have that in Des Moines.
Yeah, because we're going up we're flying up for Cancun here Sunday. We're going to fly out of Minneapolis, and we're going to leave her parents' place in New Hampton at like 4 in the morning. Maybe. I don't even know what time our flight is. We might be leaving like 2 in the morning for all I know to get up to the airport. But then you got to find this parking spots. You got to get a shuttle from your parking spot. You got to leave your car over the winter at the airport for a week. I mean, I like the Minneapolis airport, but it's nothing compared to Des Moines. For a small town,
It's so
Iowa,
easy.
it's so convenient, especially
I never asked you, why are you going down to Cancun?
Mr. Loss's wedding.
Nice.
Yes,
Nice.
yes.
Christopher.
So
Yeah.
here's the bad thing. They just booked is a catamaran. Is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so they booked a catamaran Sunday, all-inclusive catamaran for the wedding party and everyone going down there. And they're going to take you out into the ocean to this awesome snorkeling spot.
Okay.
And snorkeling is my favorite thing in this world. But unfortunately, they booked it the day that we're flying down there. And that not their fault. They very limited on times they could do. But I'm obsessed with snorkeling. My favorite hobby.
So
hands
fun,
down.
dude.
So I'm going to do one of those excursions for sure when I can.
Where have
get
you
down there.
snorkeled?
Oh, Dominican Republic, the Bahamas. Them two places.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I could do it for hours.
We were down in the DR with my parents, and my dad's like, I think we should do a snorkeling day. I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, I'm down. Siblings weren't that into it. Dude, it was so cool. And the funny part was it kind of like turned into like basically a party cruise. Like it wasn't even like it was 1 hour of snorkeling and like 4 hours of just drinking on a catamaran, which was dope.
Yeah, so we were gonna do a deep sea fishing, but it costs almost like $1,500 to do that.
I do want to do that sometime.
I mean, it would be awesome reeling in like a swordfish, but whatever. Looking forward to get down there. I'm leaving at a good time. It's gonna be really cold this upcoming week.
Yeah, dude. Safe travels. That'll be fun. What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
Usually I go to the Iowa Nebraska game, but not this year. I'm taking this one off just to kind of lay low before I head out to Cancun. If I wasn't going to Cancun, I'd probably be in Kinnick, freeze my balls off there. But the parents are coming down this year. That's something that's never happened. We're gonna have a little Thanksgiving feast at my brother's. Nothing too crazy. Watch the Iowa game. Probably watch old Iowa State too and everything.
Yeah.
And then just prepare ourselves for Cancun. It sounds like you're going to the Dutch land of Pella.
We're gonna do Wednesday night in Denver, Iowa, and then I think a little bit of the traditional Thanksgiving in Denver on Thursday, and then not sure yet. Heading down to probably Cedar Rapids to see my grandparents, and then Pella. So just every holiday weekend now is just so busy. We got lots of family to see. I love it. Just ends up being lots of traveling. Yeah, so who's in charge of the turkey on your end?
Oh, not me. I think the mother and father will be working on that part, but we're doing some side dishes that Madison she worked on and practicing one last night, some cornbread.
Nice.
Which I'm not a huge fan of. We'll get into that because we're going to be ranking our Thanksgiving meals at the end of the episode. But let's jump into a little Iowa news here, Bryce. 2 weeks ago, this was on College Game Day. An Iowa State fan named Troy DeJudy dressed up as Darth Vader for the blackout game against UCF 2 weeks before Halloween, and it blew up the internet. And there's a story behind it. It's a dark one. So back in 2010, Troy and his son, Carson, who was 5 years old, had to share their common connection with Star Wars that they absolutely loved. Dressed up for Halloween, that's where the Darth Vader costume came out for Troy, and his son Carson would dress up as Anakin Skywalker. And unfortunately, Carson, I think his two other siblings, Carson was the oldest, were with their mom on their way to a karate lesson, and were struck by a truck in an intersection. Carson ended up losing his life that day at the age of 5, and they lost their youngest daughter, the 5-month-old Claire, in that accident as well. So a very traumatic experience, obviously, for Troy and the family. And ever since then, Troy's always felt like Star Wars has really connected him to Carson, even though he's no longer with us. But he says the Force is keeping us together. Yeah. And he's like, God, we're going to this. So he's been a lifelong Iowa State fan. Been going to all these games. Iowa State's having a historic year. They're 6-0 at the time. University of Central Florida is coming to town. Night game at Kinnick 2 weeks before Halloween. They're wearing the all black uniforms. Troy's like, man, I'm going to bust out my Darth Vader and just see if I can get some laughs out of it. Blew up the internet. Taking hundreds of photos throughout the day. College Game Day did a story on it. Super awesome. I mean, if you haven't had a chance, catch that video. It's like a 5-minute clip, but shout out to them. I love it. I want to see more of this Darth Vader outfit because I'm a huge Star Wars guy too. I think it looks sweet, and the Cyclones definitely did have the Force that night.
They did.
Rocco Becht, the last second push tush touchdown to get the job done.
Yep. Clones keep finding a way to do it. I love that story. I saw it all over social media. I saw it on the Iowa Chill submissions. I did not know the story until I saw Troy's, tweet a couple days later, and it's a really touching story. It's obviously extremely tragic, but I love that being their way to connect and still be together. That's pretty cool.
Grandview finishes their 6th consecutive undefeated season. I mean, how have we not heard more about this? That is actually unbelievable and remarkable.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're crazy.
They've always had a rich historic program. I always knew they're winning their conference championships, but I did not know they had 6 straight undefeated seasons. So kudos to Grandview Vikings. I mean, what a story.
It's funny that you can go 6 years undefeated and still fly under the radar. And I mean, it is Grandview, but at the same time, that's impossible to do at any level. I don't know. Is that like one of the better streaks of all time in any sport, any level?
Get some random spam calls. It's got to be, right?
Yeah, gotta be.
So keep an eye out then for the playoffs. I don't know if they ever win the national championships, but I know apparently they've always dominated throughout the regular seasons.
What level do they play at?
God, it's like the NAIA. I don't know if that's a conference or if that's like the level. I'm not sure how that works. If it's like a Division 2, I think it's like Division 3, so a step below Drake. Because I know back in the day they used to play Drake, like when Drake would play up a level to UNI plays up a level to Iowa. Grandview would play up a level to Drake, and I remember one year they beat them. That was a big deal, and I think that's the year they made it to the championship. And I'm not sure if they won it. I think they lost. I knew because the tight end that year was from Algona, so I was keeping on track with Mr. John Gifford. Shout out to John Gifford. Bryce?
Shoot, 6 years in a row. There might be time for them to go up a level. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good for Grandview, man.
You're staying complacent right now. Get the bad boys up. I want to see them compete against the Lehighs of the world, the Drakes, that sort of level. If things keep going well, let's bump them up again. I want competition, baby. Bryce, we might have more of an influence on this podcast than we realized.
Okay.
A couple of weeks ago, we were ranking our 5 worst malls in the state of Iowa.
We did that. Yep.
Begging for towns of 20 to 30,000 to not have malls, and ever since then, we're starting to see some demolitions of malls take place here in the state of Iowa. Waterloo announces the Crossroads Mall to be demolished.
No. It's a good choice, but no. You know what's really funny is like we pretty much called Mark Farley's retirement, and now we're calling for malls to be demolished, and then they do. I think we do have more influence than we think.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the Mark
yeah.
situation.
He announced his retirement like 2 days after we released the episode.
Kirk Ferentz needs to retire. I already said it. Hopefully that speaks into existence. But it sounds like they're going to redevelop the area, which is good because good Lord knows they need it. I mean, that area around the mall is pretty solid. You have Dick's Sporting Goods. You got the Chick-fil-A. What's that? TJ Goods. TJ Home Store, I mean. Another store I like that I can't remember. But a couple of good areas. It's not quite as good as Cedar Falls and Clean, obviously. No. But I think they're trying to build more of that type of shopping area, like the Cedar Falls Viking with like the Target and the Shields, which seems to be the go-to thing nowadays.
Yeah. Waterloo gets a terrible rap, but I have a lot of faith in them turning things around. Do you know anything about them merging high schools? Is that still happening?
Yeah.
East
I
and
don't
West?
know the most recent story, but I do know that they're about to build the state's largest high school, which is going to be absolutely ridiculous.
It's going to be crazy.
For it. Yeah.
No, I'm all for it. I'm rooting for Waterloo. When we came to Cedar Falls, Waterloo area for college in 2014, I mean, it was kind of like a do not go zone. And the more I've spent time there, there's a lot of good things there. There's good history, good industrial town. I'm still cheering for them to get back on their feet. So, yeah, it starts with demolishing them all.
It absolutely does. It starts with demolishing the
You got to tear it all down to build back up.
So shout out to Waterloo there. Bryce, what a week for the state of Iowa when it comes to athletic programs. We have a whole bunch of good content to jump into here. But before we get into that, we have a friend of ours.
Okay. Who can it be?
Atlantic Bottling Company.
You want me to do the read? Atlantic Bottling Company. Yes, the distributor of all things Coke, Sprite, the usual goods. We've got Rain Energy, Body Armor Light, Body Armor Regular, Body Armor Water. they've hooked us up and helped us get this pod to the next level. No artificial sweeteners, dyes, anything. Just the good stuff. All the electrolytes to keep you going and help you level up in whatever you're doing. So thank you to our friends at Atlantic Bottling and for supplying the hydration today. I've gone with the orange mango.
Have you? I've not quite slipped down to the orange mango yet. I do. I'm still I went through all my tropical punches. I'm working on the strawberry bananas right now. Here's the thing. I can't remember if I said this last time, but I always used to drink Body Armor for what it did for me, for the use of it. Now I found myself drinking it for the taste.
Yeah, it's good. And I've always been a Body Armor light guy. These regular Body Armors I'll say it. They're a sponsor of the pod, but they do have quite a bit of sugar. They taste amazing though. They taste so good.
Oh god, they're so good. I love it. Yeah, like I said, I whipped through all those tropical punches. I'm gonna have to get that supply replenished. So shout out to Atlantic Bottling Company. We love what you guys are doing, and thank you for joining in our vision here at the Iowa Chill Show.
Yeah, thanks guys.
So I want to start with, in my opinion, the hottest team right now in the state of Iowa. My Drake
The
Bulldogs. The Drake men's basketball team. 6-0, champions of the Charleston Classic, down in South Carolina this week. 3 straight games, 3 straight W's of double digits. What a story this Drake basketball team is, because we've known for the last half decade the reign was under Darren DeVries, and he did a phenomenal job winning back-to-back Missouri Valley Conference championships there at Drake. They lose everyone. Everyone transferred but one player, Nate Ferguson. Their head coach takes his best player, his son, over to West Virginia. It was going to be a rebuilding year, rebuilding half decade.
That's all we heard. Rebuild.
And I told you they hired the right guy, Coach Ben McCollum, 4-time national champion at Northwestern Missouri State. He brought 4 of his dudes for Northwestern Missouri State, and 4 of those guys are 4 of the 5 are starters from Northwestern Missouri State. Division II players coming in, beating SEC teams. I mean, Bennett Sturtz and Mitch Mascari. There's 120 minutes of play in the 3 games down at the Charleston Classic. They played every single minute, and they dominated.
Wow. I did not know that. That's awesome.
Mitch Mascari, he's the shooting guard for Drake. Last April, he had an accounting job lined up after his graduation from Northwestern Missouri State, and then Coach McCollum got the job at Drake and said, whoa, hold on. Doesn't Mascari still have another year of eligibility? Because everyone does because of COVID, right? Yeah. They called him up and said, hey, I'm going to Drake. Come join my program. And he's like, I can't, Coach. I got an accounting job. I start here soon. He said, quit. No, come play one more year of basketball. And here he is, 120 minutes later, shooting guard. Instead of being an accountant, he's now 6-0 with Drake. And this is just the coolest story ever. I love this team. They're athletic. They play very well-structured basketball, and they dominate. They make you play their pace of basketball. So this is going to be a fun team to keep an eye on throughout the rest of the year.
So last night they were playing who? Vanderbilt,
who's loaded. They had A.J. Hogard, a former Michigan State guard, big-time recruit. They played. Vanderbilt did everything in their power to dictate the way they want to play that basketball game, forcing turnovers, playing with this high-energy defense, and Drake just wouldn't budge. They couldn't get up more than 4 points out of them, and before you know it, they slowly started tiring out, and now you're playing 100% Drake basketball, and that's just where they just took over Bennett Sturtz.
You would let me know that the game was at 7:30. I very well knew that I had wedding planning last night that I was not going to be able to avoid, and it's just going to be part of my life for the next year and a half, most likely. That said, I did watch some of the clips that you sent, and looks like the boys were forcing turnovers, playing smart. They can hit a couple outside balls, and Sturtz is – I appreciate that you used those 4 starters as dogs because he looks like a dog.
I mean, these guys were all Division II players last year.
Yeah.
And they took down Miami, who's taken Drake out of the NCAA tournament in the first round. They took down Florida Atlantic, who was in the Final Four 2 years ago. Now you're taking down a rebuild Vanderbilt team whose previous coach, or whose first-year coach tenure now, coach at James Madison last year, who made some run in the NCAA tournament. Those are 3 solid teams that you took by double digits in every single game with 2 of your guys playing all 120 minutes in a 4-day span. Coach McCollum has got something figured out. The dude's an absolute dog, a winner wherever he goes.
Dude, I'm pumped about the Bulldogs, man. We mentioned this about Fran McCaffrey's teams and how they tend to play a lot of guys. I was able to watch quite a bit of the game against Utah State, 2 undefeated teams, the Hawkeyes playing the Aggies. He's playing a lot of guys still. I kind of like that they're playing like a little smaller lineup there over there at Drake in the Epicenter.
When you want to play fundamental structured basketball, that's how it's got to be. You can't be throwing 10, 15 dudes in there expecting to run the smooth, transformative offense the entire game when you got one dictator, as in Bennett Sturts, who, in my opinion, is the best player in the state of Iowa right now. Mark my words on that.
Book it.
Iowa cruises to a 29-13 win over Maryland. At this point of the season, it's just win, get the job done, and let's just get out of the season. We don't know what in the world is going on with Cade McNamara. Did you see him call out?
Yeah, I did.
The media?
Yeah, a lot of the Iowa media was kind of on his ass. He was on kind of everybody's, even as much to say like he was kind of a merchant of $600,000 and he's going to take all that money and not play. Cade ended up coming out with an official statement saying that he has not officially cleared concussion protocol and that during a practice last week he had a flare-up, which is normal coming out of protocol. But yeah, who knows, man? It's just a mess. And there's even rumors like, as Kirk lost the locker room, has this thing completely gone off the rails? I don't know if that's exactly the case. I know that some of the guys didn't travel last week, but it doesn't look good. No matter what this real story is, it doesn't look good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem comes down to Kirk Ferentz here when it comes to transparency and letting the media and the fans know what the hell is going on. The guy just doesn't disclose anything, and I get at the same time you're trying to protect your players, but you've got to give us a little more information. Otherwise, these media stories are going to blow up, and we're going to start assuming all sorts of shit. We're trying to find answers. We want to know answers. We deserve to know what's going on with our starting quarterback that we paid $600,000 for.
Yeah.
So,
Nate, that's a great point. Like, now we're in the day of NIL, and there's huge amounts of money going to these programs. It's going to start looking like a business, and unfortunately when you run a business that has 18 to 22-year-olds, you're going to have to ask tough questions and you're going to have to get the answers, because otherwise it's like, what are we doing with our money? And
right.
Like that was, I think, some of the fear of NIL is like, these are kids, they're getting an education, they're starting their careers. It's a launch pad for the rest of their life. It's like, do we want to treat this like a business? And unfortunately, if there's a bunch of money involved, people are going to want their answers.
And this is exactly why Nick Saban jumped out of here. This is probably why Mark Farley, I know he's probably forced out a little bit too, but I'm sure he's happy to get out of this era too. He kind of spoke on that. Definitely different time in the era for college football. I can't even imagine trying to run with all this money deals and all these college athletes you got to take care of. That's why I'm here talking about it, not coaching it for sure. But that being said, the quarterback reign has been handed over to Jackson Stratton, the former Colorado State quarterback who threw 7 passes all of last year. 2 of them were interceptions. He goes 10 of 14 for 76 yards. That's all I want him to do.
Yeah.
No mistakes were made. You have the second best running back in college football with a great run blocking offensive line. Take care of business. Don't make mistakes. Don't let these teams that you're superior find a way to beat you. And that's exactly what he did. He managed the game well, made a couple of good third down and long passes. That looked really good.
Yes. Yeah, that was a great ball.
We didn't pit him in situations to make big plays, which I'm fine with, but he made the right plays at the right time. Didn't make any errors. Caleb Johnson had a horse work day for sure. 35 carries, that's a lot, for 164 yards, 1 touchdown. And he passes Sean Green for the most rushing touchdowns in the Iowa football season.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think we know now what these Hawkeyes are. We're 1 game out from completing the season. And, when you're on your 5th-string quarterback, I don't think you expect a lot more. Let's not throw the ball 25, 30 times, and especially when you have the second-best running back in the league. So, yeah, finish out this season against Nebraska this Friday with a lot of running. I think they know that that's coming. But, yeah, I have no worries about him making the throws that need to happen. Have you heard anything about what might transpire with the quarterback situation going into that game?
Obviously, Cade said that he was planning on playing in the game. I mean,
yeah,
any athlete would say that, right? But from the previous note I heard from Kirk Ferentz is that right now it's more than likely going to be Jackson Stratton, which is the way it should be. We've talked all year about Kirk Ferentz saying how Cade isn't quite football ready yet, football shape yet. because of his injury. Now this guy hasn't played football for over a month. You're going to throw him in the final game of the year when he has been football ready his entire freaking time at the University of Iowa. Get the hell out of here. Wish Cade the best of luck, obviously, recovery. I expect him to be a leader at this point. You're 24 years old, however old he is. Be a leader, help Jackson, help the team grow, get the W, move in the bowl season, and then do what you wish.
Yep. The problem with the last couple of quarterbacks at Iowa is that they're just good guys. Like, I really liked rooting for Petrus. I liked rooting for Cade. I feel like they're good leaders and good men, but fuck. ready for something new. I'm ready for a lot of stuff new with the Iowa football program. We spent a lot of time sitting with Jeremy and Ben on Saturday talking about, I don't think it's a big change to all of a sudden change the culture and the recruiting pipeline at Iowa. I'm not going to get into it now, but I really think we're not far off from like having the bones of what's good and then just a little bit of a fresh face to change that recruiting pipeline.
Yeah, something different is needed. We'll leave that to the coaching staff to hopefully figure that out here in the next year. I do want to give my player of the game to Drew Stevens, the kicker for Iowa. 5 of 5, along at 53 yards on a windy, gusty day out there in Maryland. Solid performance. Pitting your team ahead the entire time, not forcing your offense to go out there and continue to make plays, but play Iowa football, get the job done. And it was awesome to see for Drew Stevens because he's been put in some shitty situations this year. Like, you haven't kicked a kick all game. We're going to throw you out there for this 55-yarder. And then he hits the upright. He misses this by a couple inches. He's been an awesome kicker. He just has some tough draw-off cars this year. So good to see him hit that 5 for 5. A couple of those would have been good from 70, obviously, if the wind behind his back. So I love to see that for Drew Stevens. Big game coming up against here. The Black Friday. Nebraska Cornhuskers are finally bowl eligible for the first time in, I don't even know, 10 years or something crazy like that, maybe 8 or 9. Big game here. Yeah,
we've talked about the Huskers a lot. And at the beginning of the pod this year, we were saying these guys are really legit. They look awesome. They were handling everybody. They really hit a bump in the road midseason. They were coming off a victory. And most importantly, Dylan Raiola is coming off one of his best Patrick Mahomes impersonations of the year after a touchdown celebration.
Yeah, I saw that. Did you see? Apparently, he's gained too much weight there too. Have you seen that?
Oh no! Like mid-season, he's gaining weight.
He's getting fat on him, now, which is kind of funny. The dietitian there at Nebraska was saying, I don't know if it's true, but I saw a picture and it's kind of funny. But yeah, they took care of business for sure against Wisconsin, who has been struggling this year. It's going to be like one of the coldest games in Kinnick Stadium history with wind chill.
Really? What are we expecting on Friday? What do I have to pack for?
First off, it's a Friday night game, so usually this game's played at like during the midday.
2:30-ish,
Yeah, 2:30-ish. So you got a night game. Already know it's going to be windier than hell. It's Iowa this time of the year. I think the high that day is like 20 degrees. So with wind chill, you're probably looking in the freaking low single digits.
Those boys are going to be pumped to play. I mean, we watched a Thursday night Cleveland game with some snow. It's just that time of year for football. I'm not too worried about our guys. It does add a different element. You mentioned Stevens kicking. Like that's going to be a rock hard ball. So get that ball in the end zone.
Yeah, I think that weather definitely plays in Iowa's advantage of what they want to do, especially at home. Dominate the ground, get out, get a W, go 8-4, call the season whenever, and move on to the bowl game. However, Iowa State season is not done like Iowa's. Iowa State somehow needed everything to happen for this weekend, and it did, with BYU losing to Arizona State, Colorado getting taken by the Kansas Red Hot Jayhawks, and Iowa State escapes to the 31-28 victory over there in the Mormon land at Utah.
Yeah. Dude, the Cyclones are content with 1-point victories, and maybe that serves them well coming up to the end of the season, this Big 12 championship hopefully looming. But I'm tired of it myself. I'm getting a heart attack watching these Cyclones, and I'm not even a diehard. Not only did the Big 12 teams lose, there's a lot of teams in the top 10 that lost. So if the Cyclones win their next 2 games, it could be maybe a college football playoff berth, maybe.
Yeah, so I think we got a 4-way tie right now for first place in the Big 12. So from my understanding, if they win, they're most likely in. However, if BYU somehow loses to Houston, that'll take Iowa State out of the playoff.
Yep.
Which is probably unlikely. I think BYU are 12.5-point favorites, but you just never know. More importantly, Iowa State's got to worry about Kansas State Wildcats coming in the town. Pretty good program there. They had the great Snow-Mageddon game last year. How awesome was that?
Classic game.
Yeah, Rocco Beck was pretty solid this Utah game. Went 20 for 38, 256 yards. Tutty, Carson Hansen, the new face right now, I would say, for the running back position. I would say 57 yards, 2 tutties, and arguably the biggest play of the game. Did you see that?
By far the biggest play. Yeah. He took that drive and single-handedly said, boys, I got this.
And then did the trick play pass. If you let it just a little more off underneath that pass, it's probably a touchdown, but set him up for the game-winning touchdown to take the lead on Utah. And Utah's there. Zach Wilson's brother was a quarterback for Utah. I think he got injured that game. Utah was down to their third-string quarterback. And it is what it is. Iowa State, just you get dealt with certain cards some years, and then just will go out and win.
Yeah.
And less questions will be asked. And currently that's what they're doing. And here they are with another night game. This has got to be this has got to be a record. This is unbelievable.
Oh, I know we've been saying it all season, but they just keep playing night games.
I mean, they got to be sick of it at this freaking point, especially this time of the year. Like we said, they're going to be playing the same time do they play Friday night? Or is it Saturday?
I think
Let
Saturday.
Let me look that up real quick. But yeah, another night game. Kansas State's coming to town. It's going to be terribly cold. These fans, Saturday. So not the same time as Iowa, but the next day. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about Kansas State. I just know I think they're kind of on below pace and what they're projected to be this year, but still a tough team. If you want to earn the right to be in the Big 12 championship, it runs through Kansas State and beating them right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the story is the Big 12 is not top heavy like the SEC and Big 10, and truly, I think the Iowa State Cyclones would tell you, every team can beat us. We played a lot of close games. I would expect the exact same thing in this one. Man, they need it. This program needs it. They need that 10-win season.
Yeah, the cardiac Cyclones.
Cyclone Larry might have jinxed them. He said, congratulations to the Cyclones on a 10-win season. They're at 9 wins. They still got to win this last game. So if they lose, we'll come back to Larry.
No one's better than, especially in the Big 12, at keeping games close, and I would say Cyclones. So this is probably going to be a pretty tough game here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I haven't watched a lot of Kansas State. No idea what to expect, but I know that the bottom 4 teams that were projected in the Big 12 are now flipped, and it's pretty much any team can beat you. They're not going to have as many playoff teams as the Big 10 or SEC, but it's pretty much everybody can go toe-to-toe.
The season where the restart right now, you'd almost pick Kansas as a favorite.
Yeah.
I mean,
they look so good
and awesome they look right now. That's the last team you want to play, so luckily, they won't be any contention for the Big 12 championship here. So stay tuned. Buckle up, folks. We'll see what the Cyclones can pull out this week. Season is officially done here in Cedar Falls for the UNI Northern Iowa Panthers. Mark Farley hangs it up, and it hangs it up with a W, which is good and great to see.
Yeah, I wanted to say that they were setting the record for most losses in a row, so it was good to see one more dub. Mark is the guy that I grew up with. I went to a lot of UNI football games when I was younger. Sad to see him go, but I think we've mentioned enough times on the pod to know that it's time to get some fresh faces. There's the worry that you go and plummet into the abyss of being irrelevant, but there's also the instances like Drake where you have a complete rebuild of your team. You think that you're not going to have a great season, but hey, look what a fresh face can do for those Drake Bulldogs. Let's hope the same is true for the UNI Panther football team.
Yeah, no kidding. See, you hit the nail on the head there with the Drake. It's scared to bring a new face in sometimes, but when you make the right hire, things are awesome. They're looking really good for Drake right now. I'm curious to see who takes over UNI. Have they any leadway on that yet? Is
I haven't seen
coach stepping up. I wonder. I have no idea.
It's always the immediate thought is at that level. A lot of times it's assistant coaches. What's Kurt Warner doing?
Oh,
I know he's got the deal with the NFL Network. He's doing those early morning Sunday games, but man,
bro, that would be awesome. Talk about a face that would bring in some popularity to the brand. That's kind of what you need in an NIL market nowadays. Look at Deion Sanders. wherever you're going to go, you go play for him. You're probably going to make more money off your name, likeness, and image.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe something Kurt Warner could play a factor in at least helping someone get the right coaching staff there. And
I don't think he's
be
ever
a part of that.
I don't think he's ever coached, but it might just be worth to have him as a figurehead, Right.
Bryce, let's jump into our lock bets of the week here.
Let's do it.
I'm going to go with my number 3. Give me Alabama to cover 11.5 at home versus Auburn. Alabama's going to be pissed off right now.
You've been saying that a lot.
They just shit the bed against Oklahoma. 14-point favorites, and Oklahoma took care of business there. I think they're going to raise a little fury there in the old Crimson Tide land and take care of business against their rival.
I like it. I don't know what's going on with these SEC teams, but it's almost like you keep losing these close games, and you lose a couple games that you probably. I mean, it's fine if you do lose. If you lose to a Georgia, who cares? Well, we keep saying this about these Georgia and Alabama games, they're going to come back with a fury. It's maybe these teams aren't what we thought they were. I like it though. I think they do handle these guys. That said, I'm going to stay in the SEC and go with Vanderbilt plus 10.5 on Tennessee. Vanderbilt obviously beat the Crimson Tide earlier in the season. They're getting hot, kind of like those Jayhawks. I like them staying in this game. I don't think that they win, but I think they stay in it with Tennessee.
Shouts out to Commodores, Vanderbilt. My number 2, Kansas Jayhawks, plus 1 at Baylor. Come on. No way, dude. I don't know too much about Baylor, but I do know who the Jayhawks are and what they've been doing for the last 3 weeks. I think they take care of business no problem in Baylorland.
Yeah, they're too hot to fail. I don't know what Vegas is thinking. The Jayhawks are the hottest team in the nation. Love it. This one I'm kind of iffy about. Ohio State minus 21 against Michigan. So my gut says Michigan cover any other year. I mean, that's an absurd amount of points in a game that's this hot of a rivalry. That said, Michigan has not looked great. They played Indiana kind of close, and I believe their quarterback is out. So I'm going to take Ohio State minus 21. Probably my most iffy bet that I have on the card.
Yeah, no Harbaugh. Harbaugh owned that series the last couple of years against Ryan Day for sure. Ryan Day has been receiving so much shit the last how many years from the Ohio State Buckeye fans about him losing this game. Mm-hmm. He finally has a team that can pit the piss rock pounding on Michigan. And you think he's going to hold anything back? Not a damn chance. He's going to go out there and absolutely take it to Michigan. Yeah, it might be close in the first quarter. That's kind of how all Ohio State games have gone this year. Indiana started up 7-0. They kind of flew around with you for a little bit for some reason. And all of a second, they hit a whole new level switch, and then it's over. You stand no chance. And then the pure athleticism. This is the Urban Meyer quote that we heard early in the year, that this might be the most dominant athletic football team I think I've ever seen. And if they could play 4 straight quarters, Georgia's the only team that probably stands a chance against them.
Yeah, they're one of my favorites to win the playoff. And I see what Meyer's saying now because, yeah, they go down 7-0 to Penn State off a pick 6. They go down 7-0 to Indiana after a 3-and-out, and Indiana marches down the field. But then it's like the team that you saw in the last possession is not going to be the exact same team. They have so many guys, 3 NFL wide receivers. They've got the 2-headed monster at running back. They're damn good. But, yeah, it's one of those games, Nate. It very easily could be a Michigan, playing their hearts out, and it covers that 21. But.
Yeah, rivalry games are always weird. Always the hardest games to bet, so definitely could be a closer matchup than we would anticipate. But I still like your bet, though. Take Ohio State.
Okay. You want me to snake back with number 1?
Yes, please.
Iowa. Alt spread -3 against Nebraska. I think the line right now is 5.5. I don't know what to think. I think that we are so one-dimensional that this game could go very, very badly. I also think that we're a better team, and we should win.
Yeah, let's find out what we get from Nebraska. Like you said, they are looking really bad the last 4 or 5 weeks. I was looking last week. They kind of put some good looks together for a football team. Now that they're finally bowl eligible, they get to come into this game and just kind of play a little free football. It might help them out a little bit because Iowa has owned the last second game-winning field goals against this team. So if I were you, I'd maybe spread that up to 2.5 just in case if Iowa's got to hit a dagger so you don't push.
You're right. If I'm already spreading, might as well get the full point.
Give me Wisconsin to cover 2 at home versus Minnesota. Wisconsin's got one of the longest 10-year bowl eligibility programs streaks going on right now in college football, and it comes down to this game against Minnesota. Minnesota has looked really good. There's a very good chance that I am flipping to having Minnesota cover this, but I think Wisconsin does what they can to keep that streak alive at home at Camp Randall.
Yeah, okay. I'd say that's your iffiest bet. And I don't hate it still because it's like it's all matchups in college football, but Penn State had some troubles with Minnesota. Minnesota's pretty hot. I know that they have lost a game recently, but they've won a lot of their most recent games.
Oregon only won by 4 there.
Yeah, and then Wisconsin has not looked great. Who they just get blown out by?
Nebraska.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there we go. So yeah, I'll probably ride with you. I mean, I'm down to take that. Plus, I just
don't do it.
I'm so sick of PJ Fleck that I'll always bet against Minnesota.
Bryce, we got an interesting segment for y'all this week. We're going to be ranking our top 3 favorite Thanksgiving dishes and then also our top 3 worst Thanksgiving dishes. You want to start with best or worst?
Let's do best.
I agree.
Okay. Can I start off with something that's so controversial but very true for me?
Okay.
Cranberry sauce. Yeah. That's exactly what I would expect. And I apologize to anybody that hates it. I know that it's one of the most hated. It's sometimes the most loved. By that 1% of people that love it, they love it. The rest of the 99% hate.
Serial killer.
I don't care if it's in the can. I don't care if it's homemade. It's all good to me.
Well, it won't be the last time we talk about cranberry sauce in this conversation. My number 3 is stuffing. Stuffing's a little messed up to me. I don't like to eat it alone, but if I can mix it with like my turkey, I absolutely love it.
Yep.
It's a great compliment to anything in my Thanksgiving meal.
Are you a stovetop stuffing or homemade stuffing? Like what's your go-to? Does it matter?
Oh, nope, not really. Any stuffing's fair game for me. I love it.
Fair. I agree. It's a true side. It's not something I eat by itself. I'm not a true lover, but I get it. I like it. It's good.
I'll snake back with number 2 here. Turkey. Give me a little flat turkey.
Wow.
Love yeah.
Turkey has been getting a ton of hate.
Why?
Lately.
It's so good.
It's so good. I love it. I think if you prepare it well, it's awesome. I think if you don't, it's really dry, and I think that's why it gets a bad rap. But turkey's going to be on my list too, Nate, and I'm just going to skip ahead and say that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go back with my number 1 because I have a solution for that comment that you just made about the dry turkey.
Okay.
My number 1 is mashed potatoes and gravy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Give me a hodgepodge and just mix it all together. You have no dryness anywhere. Okay. The gravy. Gravy's probably my favorite part because I just put on everything. I put on my stuffing, my turkey, my mashed potatoes. But yeah, you won't see me take a bite at Thanksgiving with turkey alone. Not a chance. It'll be dipped in a layer of gravy and mashed potatoes with a little stuffing on top of it.
Love it. And that's exactly how I play this game too. And I just think that anybody that doesn't like Thanksgiving food and the traditional feast isn't playing the game right. I think they're doing it wrong. And I beg you to give it a shot. Mix everything together. Have some fun. Nate, we had the exact same list besides cranberry sauce. So mashed potatoes and turkey round out mine. And I'm excited for the feast. Love it.
Yeah, can't wait. Let's jump into our 3 worst here. I'm going to start off with apple pie. Me historically. I'm not a pie guy. I hate pie. I always said if I became mayor or governor of Iowa, I would abolish all Village Inns in the state of Iowa.
Yes. Yep.
Solely
Free pie day on Wednesday at Village Inn was not your thing. That's for sure.
Nope.
That's fair. I don't have pie on my worst. I just have it on my will not eat list. Like my dad, a couple of my family members love it. I could
It just
care
ruins
less.
my vibe, man. I hate seeing it.
Yeah.
I'm a hater.
Nate, some of my worst foods, and it kind of applies to pie as well, is like I still have this memory as a kid, right? Like you eat the same Thanksgiving feast every year. And a lot of these things I've grown to actually like, but they're on this list because I hated them at one point. And to start off, that is green bean casserole. I do like it now, but as a kid, I hated it.
Yep. Okay.
And part of it was because I saw the sludgy little soup that got mixed into the recipe, and I'm just like, oh, I do not like that. I think it's cream of mushroom.
Yeah, the less you know about green bean casserole, the better. Just eat it. I definitely hated it as a kid more than anything in the world. The more you think about it, it really is kind of messed up. But yeah, don't talk about the ingredients that go in the green bean casserole. Just kind of enjoy it when you can eat it. Don't eat too much of it because
Don't eat too much.
You'll hate it right away. But yeah, just kind of I'll eat it.
Another one of those things, like, it's actually great if you mix it together. Those crispy onions on top. I can do it now, but it just, as a kid, I hated it.
Follow us back with number 2.
You're going to not believe this, but I actually have stuffing on there. And this is another one I like now, but I hated it. I couldn't stand stuffing as a kid. I'd put it on my plate because, you'd have basically the big cousin line, the grandparents line, all the family members getting ready to go through the buffet. And grandma would be breathing down your neck like, oh, you're not grabbing that? You're not grabbing that? So stuffing was one I'd always throw on my plate. Never really liked it. Never touched it. I do really like it now. And that's one for me. Like, if you make it homemade, it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, like I said, makes sense because I don't eat it alone. But if I mix it with something, I absolutely love it.
Yep.
My number 2 is ham.
Wow.
Don't you dare bring ham to the table at a Thanksgiving dinner.
Can I show you something? Ham was my honorable mention.
Of course, I hate ham so
Yep.
much. I've never understood it.
I don't either. So we actually filmed an Iowa Chill golf video at the Amana Colonies this year, and Amana is known for their ham. They have a great ham. So if you're going to eat a ham, make it Amana. Otherwise, get it out of here. I'm not a fan of it either. It doesn't make my official list, but it's just not one of my favorite things. Like, if you only have ham, I'm going to be pissed off.
Yeah, right. I'm like, here's the thing. In everyday life, you're eating ham, whatever. But how do you replace it with turkey? Or how do you even have an option? Like, ooh, I'd rather do turkey. Or, like, how does it come down to that point?
I promise you, dude, we're going to have a lot of people disagreeing with us.
I know, and I'm here to call them out for it.
Yep, me too. I love it.
Serial
I appreciate
killers.
You number 1 or me?
Cranberry sauce, number 1.
Okay, fair. You love it or you hate it. And it's a very small amount of people that love it. I love the tanginess. So there's a new dish we've been making in the Bortscheller household, and that is the Swedish meatball. The Swedish meatball traditionally is served with lingonberry sauce, which tastes a lot like cranberry sauce. There's something about, like, the tartness that gets mixed in with all the savory foods. I love it.
I'm going to cut that clip in the last minute and send it to the FBI. You're going to
okay.
We're going to be going into some questioning here, Bryce. We got to figure something out.
Yeah, that's fair. I get it. I get people that don't like it. I just think it adds a special little flavor to the plate. Number 1, I don't even think this is necessarily a Thanksgiving or Christmas food, but cheesy potatoes. Again, don't mind it now, but something about having, like, crunchy onions and, like, sour cream and all that shit in your potatoes when you were a kid, it just was not jiving with me. So that was like a completely avoid on every plate from, like, 12 years old to now. Now I can kind of dabble in it, but
I've come a long ways for Thanksgiving love, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh man, I was meat and potatoes for sure.
Yeah, same. Like I said, once I kind of started mixing things, it kind of opened up a whole new pathway for me and begin. Like I said, I wouldn't love stuffing if I couldn't mix it with my turkey and mashed potatoes.
Yep. Hey, good list. I promise you we will have people that disagree with us, but I stand by what we said here.
Yeah, so do I. Can't wait for Thursday to get to that point and shout out some food and kick back and watch football. It's arguably one of my favorite weekends of the year.
Me too. Would you say that Thanksgiving is underrated?
It depends. If you could, in my opinion, if you could be a little more low key about it, it's awesome. But for your sake, if you got to travel to 3 different towns at that point, it becomes more of a hassle.
It's a lot.
You know?
Yeah, it's a lot.
So
I still love it.
Yeah. But I just want to kick back all day, sit, drink some beer, eat a shit ton of food, and watch football. That's all I want, and that's exactly what I'm going to get this weekend.
Yeah, it takes a lot of the chill factor out that we have to travel, but it's still just one of those, like, classic holidays. I like that it's not centered around anything but, like, getting together. Like, have some beers with your family, have a good meal. Like, I like that it's like that chill. That said, it is the worst lineup of NFL football games, which is something I really look forward to on Thanksgiving Day. So I'm actually not too upset that we're traveling because I will not be watching very much NFL football.
Yeah, but I don't know if there's any college football games going on out there or not, but
maybe. I think there's probably got to be some.
It's Tulane versus Memphis. Might have to tune into that. See what's up.
I truly think that game will be better than any other NFL game.
Probably. All right, y'all. Thanks for joining in here. Like I said, I'm handing off to Cancun. Bryce said we're gonna figure something out for next week's episode, but bear with us on that. We're gonna go with a little wing on that one, but looking forward to this week. Let's go get some big dubs for all the women's programs, the men's programs, basketball, football. Shout out to Hawkeye women. They just got put into the rankings, rightfully
nice.
so. number 23 there. We had a great week this last week. Let's cap it off, the end of the regular season for football, and move on to some more basketball. Shout out to the Cyclones. They're also in Maui right now. They got number 5 Auburn tonight.
Ooh, big one.
Yeah, huge game tonight for the Cyclones. I might be hitting the Iowa State money line.
Okay.
+5.
Okay. I love it. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. See you next week.
Just west of the Mississippi.